Welcome to Feminized. It's time for a show that turns the spotlight on the powerful women shaping cannabis culture. The cannabis industry is on fire and women are sparking it up. If you like the show, please subscribe. You can also subscribe to the Feminized podcast with Liz Grow on YouTube and Instagram. The future is feminized. Hey sis. You're now listening to the Feminized podcast. I am so excited to be here in Las Vegas for MJ Biz and have the good fortune of spending time with one of the top M&A cannabis attorneys on the globe. Okay, I'm just going to say it. Julie Herzog, founding partner of Fortis Law Partners and Full Velocity Consulting. Welcome back to the Feminized podcast. I mean, I guess I got to interview you for the Grow House podcast, yes. But now we're on Feminized. So
yes.
It's great to be able to talk to you again.
Well, great to see you and great to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, how's your MJ Biz been so far?
It's been great. I love coming here and meeting so many great people. I think this is one industry that most of the people in it are really doing it because of the greater good, right? That the cannabis industry is producing for lives, right? Helping people get off of other like hard drugs, alcohol, things like that. Helping with mental illness, and so it's just great to be a part of all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to pour your skills that are not necessarily cannabis specific, but pour your skills into this industry that's so just beneficial to so many of it. That feels good. I mean, as an attorney, right? Because attorneys don't always have the most fun, it seems.
Well, I love what I do. I mean, I help entrepreneurs with their ideas. Right? I tell my children, everything that you see when you look around was someone's idea, like the candle, the lamp, the table, everything, right? Yeah. And so it's the entrepreneur that takes that idea and then moves forward with it, gets financing, finds a way, uses their own funds, starts to grow something, right? Important, has a good impact on society, hopefully. So in cannabis has been fun and different because cannabis is challenging in ways that other industries aren't. Mm-hmm. And so for me as a lawyer to work with entrepreneurs and now, having moved into the space about 10 years ago, it just offers a new challenge intellectually and, thinking about all the regulations and navigating things. And then with the markets being so up and down and are we going to legalize? We're not going to legalize. We're going to have SIP banking. Are we not? Why not?
Reschedule.
Right.
What's that going to mean?
It keeps it interesting and exciting.
God, 10 years. 10 years is like 100 years in cannabis years. Don't you feel like that?
Yeah.
I mean, you were right there at the beginning, at the forefront. I mean, so if you don't mind, like taking me back, you started your cannabis law business, and what did you really hope to achieve? What was kind of your vision?
Yeah, early on it was, again, about helping people.
Mm-hmm.
I love working with entrepreneurs, like I said, and in the cannabis space in particular, there were just challenges that weren't present in other industries. So, for example, early on in Colorado, just your investors, for example, they couldn't own equity in the business unless they went through the whole process and got approval through the MED. So early on, we were doing like convertible promissory notes, for example, and things like that. So just being creative and problem solving for clients was interesting. Now things have opened up more, and in some ways that's caused more challenges to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's probably no shortage of speaker spots for you and people wanting to hear about what you've learned through your, obviously your tenure in the industry and what you think, where you think the trends are going. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Like, what are, I guess, some of the maybe fundraising trends or M&A trends? Give me the hot takes.
Sure. I think right now we're seeing, tough times across the board, right? In a lot of industries, the softening in the market, higher interest rates, inflation and whatnot is really impacting everyone. So, in cannabis, we may not see the slowdown in demand if we do move further into recession than we are in other industries, because I think that still remains a hot product.
Yeah.
But we're definitely seeing a slowdown in financing and mergers and acquisitions and valuation softening. Mm-hmm. A lot of deals that I'm seeing, like consolidation-wise, are stock deals. And so the buyer, especially if it's a public company looking to buy smaller companies, they're giving stock to the sellers, and that can create huge issues. I counsel clients whatever your company is valued at closing, if you're getting 100% stock, you don't have cash to pay your tax bill. So you have to think about, if I'm getting 10 million in stock, I need 3 million to go pay a tax bill probably, right? And if you're getting all stock, plus sometimes we see in the cannabis industry, the stock markets are so wild and crazy up and down. I hate for a client to sell for 10 and within a month that stock could be worth 3. And then they don't have anything, right? And if there are restrictions on reselling the stock and things like that. So just helping the founder entrepreneur understand and navigate all that from a practical perspective is really important. And then on the financing side, just tougher financing terms, so greater interest rates, lower valuation caps, those types of things that we see with any slowdown. And the cannabis industry has seen this. In the past, there have been days, in 2018, it was super hot and we saw it cool off a little bit and then a little more moderate, now cooling off again. And so there are issues that we've dealt with before.
So do you see another kind of pop of it? I mean, is it up and down, or is it more just kind of cooling off more and more?
It has been up and down so far, and I think we're going to see, it all depends upon what happens with federal legalization.
Right.
And also we're seeing some interesting court cases now with looking at interstate commerce and these state burdens on interstate commerce and ruling that, some of the state ownership requirements and things like that, the residency requirements are getting declared illegal. So that may change things a bit.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot. I feel like that's a lot to take in there. What do you mean by interstate commerce? Are you talking about some states being able to sell to other states, product to other states?
Yeah, so, under the Constitution, the federal government regulates interstate commerce. And if it's not interstate commerce, then it's up to the states to regulate the business.
Okay, right.
And so recently, in Maine, they have residency requirements for owning a dispensary, and they have medical marijuana in Maine. And so there was a venture capital group that went in and they wanted to own a dispensary in Maine and sued in court to prevent enforcement of the current laws because they were a Delaware corporation, the owners were residents of other states, and they said that this licensing requirement that you have to be a resident of Maine was an undue burden on interstate commerce, right? Because you're preventing people from other states from owning businesses in Maine.
Wow.
And the First Circuit sided with them and said that that is true. And so now in other states, you're going to see a lot of the same arguments. We'll see if it, goes to the Supreme Court or not. I think they may not appeal to the Supreme Court because they don't know how the Supreme Court may rule. And that, given that cannabis is involved, so we'll see how that plays out. And I think the issue is really limited to the residency restrictions. I think other regulations that states put in place in terms of, not having a dispensary within 300 yards of a school and those types of things, there are reasons for those types of restrictions, whereas just saying you must be a resident of Maine, that's just very protective of the state, and the purpose of, the interstate commerce is to, encourage interstate commerce. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So that's just an interesting change that we're seeing locally. And then obviously Biden has said that he wants to take a look at whether we should, take marijuana off as a Schedule I drug, and looking at that. Also, saying they've said for years that they're not going to enforce the marijuana restrictions, but now taking another look at that and hopefully just decriminalizing it altogether and passing safe banking.
Wouldn't that be
those
amazing?
Things. Yes.
God, wouldn't that be amazing? I mean, are you optimistic that might happen in the next 2 years?
I hate to say that I'm optimistic. I am, but what I've said 2 years ago, I was optimistic. Right? 2 years ago, I was optimistic, and then I was more pessimistic, and now it's really hard to say. But I do think that Republicans are going to start being more open to it than they have historically because of the results of the recent midterm elections, right? That they really thought that they would take control of the Senate, and they saw that they didn't. And so I think they're going to probably, hopefully, take another look at some of the positions that they've been taking on policy issues that our communities care about. right? They have to listen to their constituents.
That's the whole idea behind the job, guys. Like, seriously,
Right.
It's not just let me get the job and sit there and be comfortable with my health benefits and all the other benefits that come along with it. It's serving your constituents. And as a Texan, you know, I'm just fiercely protective of that, I think, and it feels like we're not being served very well by our lawmakers. So,
Right.
you know, we don't need to get into Texas politics, though. I would like to switch gears, though, Julie. I mean, it's obvious, you know, all you have to do is like Google you to find out how you've been such a huge influence and made such a huge impact on the cannabis industry in your role as an expert in, you know, mergers and acquisitions and, you know, working with entrepreneurs and brands. That sounds like a full-time job and a half, but somehow you managed to raise triplets, one of whom has had over 30 brain surgeries. Can we talk about that?
Yes.
Because I only have one 17-year-old and I'm like, I don't know how I can do it. Like, how do you do it?
Yes. Well, my kids are my first priority. And so they know that. And they know that they can pick up the phone and call me. And regardless of what I'm doing, I will leave it and, you know, be there for them. And so I think that's helped them from their own like mental health perspective, knowing that I'm there for them and that they're my first priority. It has been difficult to juggle everything. It definitely takes a community.
Yeah.
My daughter Madison, that has disabilities, has, you know, therapy every night of the week. And so I'm dealing with, you know, different therapists and that have been extremely helpful to her own being able to really be the best that she can be and as successful as she's been and as happy, you know, as she is, which is amazing. My boyfriend has helped out tremendously and his family. And so I think it's just, you know, using resources and as much as possible. I have a personal assistant.
Yes, okay.
As well as, you know, my team at work has been great. I have a great team at Fortis and at Full Velocity as well. And so it really takes all of that.
Incredible. It takes the little stuff off your plate so you can focus on the big stuff, which is family and, you know, your business and growing your business. I love that. What's the best hack? What's like the best single mom hack that you could share? Like, what saves you the most time?
I think it's using resources. I think sometimes women think that we need to do it ourselves. You know, that, and I, you know, as I say that, there's a little part of me that twinges and says, you know, I buy food from a personal chef every week and just stick it in the microwave and, you know, give it to my kids. And there's a part of me that would love to be able to make dinner every night for my kids, but I can't. I don't have the, you know, the time. I have the money to be able to afford meals and whatnot. So I think it's using whatever resources are out there, getting help when you need it. You know, I love social media from the perspective of being able to, you know, ask for help when I need it. You know, if Madison goes into the hospital for another surgery, I post on Facebook, we're back at the hospital, Madison's having another surgery, and friends and family pour out and say, how can I help? And so I think, you know, rather than really, I think as women, we tend to think, oh, I got this, I can do it on my own. Just reach out because we love to help each other and connect, right? It's an honor and a blessing when we can help someone else in need. And, you know, when other people reach out to me, I love being able to give back because so many people have given to our family over the course of our lifetime. So,
oh, I love that. It's beautiful. It's your, you know, it's your village, it's your tribe, you know, just lifting you up and helping you to be, I think, to achieve, you know, what you've achieved because you certainly can't do it alone. Right. So what's it like to be dating as busy as you are? How do you do that? Well, I just want to know all the details.
I've been with one guy for 7.5 years, and so that helps. I'm not dating. I'm with him, and so he's been really a good foundation, you know, for our family in terms of helping out. He's taking care of my son right now. I'm here at MJ Biz.
Oh, I love that. So he's like your partner. You said boyfriend. So oh, interesting.
Yeah. Maybe I find with partner, people then question, you know, male, female. Not that it matters, but you know, so
love it. I love it though. So okay, so he is, you know, obviously a huge part of your support system in 7 years. My gosh. That is very, very, very cool. So I would like to touch a little bit on psychedelics.
Okay, great.
And how you are working with entrepreneurs in the psychedelic space, what you're seeing, you know, just spill. Because I know you've got the most incredible and insightful, like, you know, observation space.
Yeah, I mean, because Proposition 122 just passed in Colorado, I think the final count that I heard was 53.5%, so not by a huge margin.
Yeah.
But people really focused on, I think, one, that it's natural medicine. Yeah. You know, the wording was really important. This is not, we're legalizing magic mushrooms, it's natural medicine, which is important. And, you know, they talked about that at the Psychedelics Forum yesterday, which was awesome to attend the first Psychedelics Forum.
Wow.
Right?
At MJ Biz.
At MJ Biz.
So cool.
Cool. You know, in Oregon and Colorado now, with legalizing it, basically what the states have said is you can grow it, you can share it, but you can't sell it. But therapists can use it and offer it to their patients. Now, one of the big questions, I think, is, well, how do the therapists get it? Right? They have to buy it from a grower that's probably not going to grow it in their backyard for their clients. Yeah. We need to be realistic here. And so that's part of the regulatory questions that I look forward to hopefully helping kind of figure out. Because I talk to, you know, some of my clients in the cannabis space that say, we have extra space on our farm, we could, you know, grow mushrooms too, and they want to get into that space, right? But with the regulatory uncertainty, you know, how do we navigate that? I felt like at the psychedelic conference that I was actually at a mental health conference where we were talking about psychedelics, because really everyone that is passionate about psychedelics has either, you know, use psychedelics for their own mental health or knows someone that has, where it's made a tremendous difference. You know, especially those with PTSD, which, you know, when we think PTSD, we think of how much veterans need this help. Yes. So it's changing lives in a positive way, just like cannabis has done.
So exciting. And of course, you're on the forefront of psychedelics, just as you have been in cannabis. And I'm just so excited to continue to follow your path and, you know, see just how you continue to impact those two industries, or really just the natural wellness industry, if you will. Right?
Yes. Yeah. I have a passion for healthcare. I've been in the healthcare space really since the beginning of my career, almost 30 years ago. And, you know, health and wellness is really critical to all of our well-being and everything that we do, right? If we don't have good health and wellness, then we cannot grow companies and sponsor podcasts, right? And help each other.
Right. That's right. Yeah, we can't get the word out if we ourselves are not healthy, right? And I don't know. It's great. It's really, really cool to know that someone like you is on the side of the entrepreneur. Yeah. You know, looking out for them, because I guess there's also the theme I think that's ever present in this industry is, the big corporations are going to come in and gobble up, you know, little guys and mom and pop shops. And what are you seeing, I guess, across the board with that, I guess, regulation that's favorable to small businesses within the cannabis space and psychedelic space? I mean, is it, I don't know, are some states doing it better than others, protecting the small business? Are some states more favorable to the big guys? Is it just like a whole chaotic mess?
It is very variable among the states and even, you know, local governments as well, right? In terms of being able to own like multiple dispensaries, for example, or vertical integration and things like that. I think cannabis and psychedelics are going to be different in those spaces. You know, it'd be interesting to see, like, one of the big tobacco companies just made a multi-million-dollar investment in a cannabis.
I guess, you know, my question is really, it's really centered around, you know, I'm from Texas, and that's the perspective that I'm, you know, viewing this industry from. And Texas is very, it's good for business. It's good for big business. And, you know, when I dream about Texas and the Texas, both cannabis industry and the psychedelics industry, I think, you know, oh God, it's just going to be all about, you know, just the big guys, and we're not going to have, you know, good regulation for the mom and pops and the little guys and the guys who are really the legacy operators who are helping to build the industry. And I guess, you know, maybe as a voter and an advocate, maybe that's what I'm looking for, is what state could we look to that has put protections in place for small businesses? Maybe, does one come to mind?
No, but I'm on the corporate side instead of the regulatory side, so I'm not as in touch with that as like one of my partners would be. Okay. But I do think that generally in our society and culture today that we are focused on, like DEI efforts and helping people that were adversely impacted by the war on drugs. Yes. And so I think there will be a real cultural push for protecting the smaller businesses, right? And just granting licenses and whatnot. Like, just the licensing process right now is really focused on helping these people that were adversely impacted before, women or minorities and whatnot. And so I think there will be a cultural kind of pushback against like big corporations coming in. Right. But we'll see if it gets legalized at the federal level, how does that change things? Are states going to let up on some of their restrictions? If that happens, maybe not. Like the alcohol industry is still very highly regulated, on a state by state basis. Are we going to see, more of that model? I know in psychedelics, for example, mushrooms anyone can grow, right? But now what people are doing is they're creating like synthetic mushrooms, for example, like in a lab, right? And selling those. And so that's where I think maybe we'll see the pharmaceutical industry start to play a role a bit. But we'll see. It's such a new, not a new industry, really, right? Like these have been around for thousands of years. Yeah. But it's new in terms of considering it, being legalized in Colorado and Oregon for mental health reasons.
Right. It's a brave new world. Like it feels like we're creating industry now around, ancient medicine and science, and it's exciting.
Right. And there's also the religious and spiritual aspects of, the psilocybin. And so I think there's a real push to protect that culturally, which is really nice to see.
Yeah. That's incredible.
So, and we need to kind of look at the industry and make sure that as it starts to grow, that we're doing it safely so that, the war on drugs happens because we see things like MDMA show up in bars, right? And everyone freaks out like, oh my God, these kids are doing MDMA. We got to just shut down the industry, right? And so it's important to kind of go about this slowly and purposefully and make sure that we're keeping people safe. And so that there isn't this big pushback and shutdown.
Yes, I think that's incredibly practical advice. And I really hope someone is listening. Truly. Okay, I know that we are in MJ Biz land right now and you're super busy and so tightly scheduled, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. But before I let you go, I have to ask you my Feminized 3 questions that I love to ask all of my guests, just because I'm really curious about your answers. Okay, so Feminized 3. First question is, tell me who's in your dream smoke circle. 3 people, dead or alive.
Oh, wow. I need some time to think about this. The Pope, Jesus,
that was
quick. Gandhi.
God, that's an incredible circle. And what are you guys smoking? Something giggly or something like cerebral?
Cerebral, for sure.
Wow, incredible. Okay. All right, so question number 2. Feminized is all about just me having great conversations with the women who inspire me in the cannabis industry. Who's inspiring you right now?
Oh, that's another good one. I think people like you, honestly. Oh. So just other women entrepreneurs that are blazing trails. So I'm very inspired by you and just other women as I attend these conferences and work with, like, my PR team is fabulous. Everybody inspires me. The entrepreneur inspires me. Yes. It really keeps me motivated to continue doing what I do and helping companies grow.
Incredible. Thank you for that. Okay, and number 3 is, what advice do you have for 13-year-old Julie?
Let's see. I think I would have, one of the comments I made earlier was reaching out. I'm going to get emotional. Reaching out for support. And I was very much I can do it on my own kind of teenager, right? And it took me many years to really realize that it takes a village and to help to allow other people to support me like they have. And so I would tell her, like, it's okay, let people in and let people help you. We help each other.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful message that just rings true today for so many people, so many women in particular. And, you know, you're such an incredible, I mean, you're truly iconic in this industry. And when you look at your achievements in life, both personal and professional, I think that many, many women would look to you as like, yeah, I want to be like her. And so thank you for doing what you do, getting out and speaking, advocating for the entrepreneur, and please come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, have fun at MJ Biz.
Thank you.
If you'd like more, subscribe to the Feminized podcast on YouTube. Follow at Feminized with Liz Grow on Instagram. Special thanks to our sponsors Moose Labs and Richard's Rainwater. Feminized Podcast is a Grow House Media production, created by Liz Grow, produced by Patrick Pope and Janice Wright, with original theme music and audio mixing by Q at Q to King Productions in New Braunfels, Texas.